Well, hello there, and welcome back to Freeform Disney. I'm Jeremy, and hey, it is time for another episode of The Bad Batch. We're up to the 7th episode of the season now, out of like 16 it seems. So, hey, we got some definite time to go. Not even quite halfway yet, but hey, 2 more episodes and we will. Although I guess if that triple episode at the beginning counts as 3 episodes, well, I guess we are about halfway then, right? Let's see. Hello there to Matthew Finn, and hello there to Mikhail McGarg. Very cool. Let's see, what do we got? Hi, Freeform Disney, very excited for Star Wars Bad Batch. Here and waiting to watch. Yep. The watch party should be fun. They always are. Always love everybody who comes on in. As I said, we get a good bit of interaction, get to talk about the episode as it's going, and also afterward. Oh, yeah. As I said, I love that we got 16 episodes plus that super long first one. Hey, who knows? I'm still holding out. You know, there might be a super long finale for all you know. So, I wouldn't mind. That's for sure. Let's see. So far, Bad Batch has been releasing on the hour. And hey, I mean, that's 6 episodes worth now that they've done on the hour. So, if I've got to make a bet, we're going on the hour again. But who knows? You never know. We did have the recent Loki episode earlier this week, released 10 minutes early, so it is possible the Bad Batch could drop early. I just wouldn't hold my breath that direction. But next week maybe, because Luca also comes out. We'll see. But hey, if it does, we're all here, and we're here and ready and early. So how is everyone doing? Let's see. Bad Batch. What am I expecting this week? Oh, yes. Wrecker is my big prediction as to where we're going here. Which I think I put Wrecker in the thumbnail here for this one. If my memory serves, I think that's what I did. Because I'm like, hey, I'm putting big predictions that Wrecker's going to be the big piece here. So yeah, I put Wrecker in there nice and big. That's why he's featuring on the thumbnail today, in case anyone's wondering. Also, I figured, hey, maybe I'll run through some of the different members of the Bad Batch as far as the different thumbnails are concerned anyway, right? So, certainly Hunter's actually gotten thumbnails more than once, actually, across the different things. But you gotta get some good images of Echo in there, and I'm sure Crosshair can go ahead and have an image at some point, even if, let's say we have some creative disagreements about how we go on about the world. Let's see. Anyway. Anywho. And I don't think I mentioned tech, but tech too. Let's see. Hello there to Whisper La Duxieme. Do I think Anakin brought balance to the Force in Revenge of the Sith? In Revenge of the Sith? Well, that's an interesting spot to put and ask if he brought balance there. I mean, normally we talk more about whether he did over by the end of Return of the Jedi, but it's an interesting, messy question. I would argue we tend not to think Revenge of the Sith did, and I would probably argue against it. Revenge of the Sith probably pushed the balance of the Force a little bit more toward the dark side at that point. Yes, not all the Jedi were wiped out, and it depends how canon versus Legends or whatever else we go as to how many of them were. But the Sith were way too powerful at that point. So no, I don't think that's balance to the Force as far as Revenge of the Sith is concerned. Probably closer to balance in some ways than it was. But kind of, I don't know, if this is light and dark, then it was probably a good bit this way toward light, and he shifted it off this way toward dark, maybe a little closer to the center. Do I think the sequel trilogy is canon, and if so, does the Return of Sidious negate Return of the Jedi and Anakin's sacrifice, hence the prophecy? Oh, we're going to get into all kinds of fun. Well, officially speaking, it is canon, regardless of what else might be there. Of course, at one point in time, the expanded universe, which is now Legends, was canon too, so it's not my call on what is or isn't canon. So, yes, officially it is canon. Let's see. So, that question out of the way. That's what I do with my headcanon. Hey, that's all kinds of other points. But if so, does Return of Sidious negate Return of the Jedi and Anakin's sacrifice? Hence the prophecy. A prophecy misread could be. Although in fairness, even ignore the sequel trilogy for a moment. Ignoring that, the Force isn't in balance quite at the end of Return of the Jedi anyway, because we wiped out the Sith, and then, well, at the very least, we still have Luke, who's a Jedi at that point, plus any other surviving Jedi who are probably around. So the Force isn't even in balance at that point. It's probably a lot closer than it was before, and we might split some hairs and call that, sure, it's balanced. But it's not really even balanced there, but does Return of Sidious negate it? I mean, you could still make an argument that it was in balance for a little bit before Sidious found his new host body and had to shift his consciousness. Maybe you could argue, hey, he brought balance to the Force, for a few days or however long it took. I mean, that might quite be what we're usually going for on that, but maybe it doesn't fully negate it. As far as the balance of the Force piece is concerned, as far as the rest of Anakin's sacrifice, I mean, it certainly doesn't negate the rest of Anakin's sacrifice, because the effect it still had as far as Anakin's character arc is still completely valid, because that's internal to him and what he chose to go ahead and do, and saving his son. So in that sense, it wouldn't negate it regardless of, hell, you could have just had Sidious not even die right at that moment. It wouldn't negate that part of his character arc. But if we're talking about the prophecy and bringing balance to the Force, well, that's a different matter. So, yeah. Let's see. As I said, Yoda, prophecy could be misread. Could Anakin therefore fulfill it as Vader and fighting the light side of the Force instead of defeating Sidious? Well, again, if we're really talking balance, then balance doesn't mean, guess what, we only have the light side. That's not really balance in the first place. So, could he have fulfilled it as Vader? Sure, it's possible. As long as he wasn't too good at his own job of killing people off on the light side, I suppose. But if you're too good, then you probably unbalance it again, right? Which is kind of the idea of the Sith anyway. The Sith don't want balance, but then again, neither do the Jedi. Neither of them really want balance to the Force. But then again, neither of them are willing to go ahead and twist what the heck the word balance means, so as if it goes ahead and works in their own favor. Well, hello there to Isaac Platero. Let me double check, make sure it hasn't dropped early. Assume someone would mention it if they had noticed it. Yeah, it hasn't dropped yet. Wouldn't expect it to have dropped quite yet. Let's see. Were Dooku and Grievous aware of Palpatine's plan to Revenge of the Sith during the battle over Coruscant? I think Dooku was aware of a lot more of it, but not all of it. Now, in fairness, that drops into the novelization, and the novelization's not officially canon anymore, so the whole bloody thing gets sticky and messy at that point. But clearly neither was completely aware, and Dooku had more awareness of what was going on than Grievous did when it really came to it. So, did anybody know Palpatine's entire plan other than Palpatine? No. It wouldn't work very well. Certainly wouldn't work very well. And frankly, as a Sith, as a general note, you probably don't want your underling ever knowing your entire plan, because part of the whole bloody idea of the Sith is that your apprentice will try to get strong enough and then overthrow you. So you gotta always have your backup plans and your secrets in there so that you can go ahead and try to keep one up on your apprentice, while still at the same time training that apprentice and making them stronger, because that then makes you stronger. Messy, messy world. Let's see. And hello there to Dramsim, and hello there to Matthew Cordona. Whisper. So what does constitute as canon along with the 3 trilogies? So according to Lucasfilm, what constitutes as canon, first off, everything pre-Disney is almost all wiped, with the exception of the movies, Clone Wars, the animated show. And I think there's one other, I think there's one other weird little piece that actually shifted through. I forget what it is. I think there's one other, though. But otherwise, everything else technically beforehand was wiped, and everything that has come since is canon, with the exception of that one Star Wars, the big MMO that has been going on from beforehand. It's actually the only new canon that is, new legends that is still coming out since, as any new storylines that come in there are not canon. Otherwise, everything else is supposedly canon. All the books, the comics, the movies, all the different shows, animated, live action, are supposedly all canon. Let me say it that way, supposedly. Although it seems that certainly you can overwrite it if... I mean, there's certainly contradictions that are already popping up in here, and they haven't done exactly a great job of maintaining their canon and keeping inconsistencies out. Heck, Bad Batch itself has already gone ahead and committed a very obvious one back in its first episode with redoing the end piece for Kanan, or I should say Caleb Doom, and Depa Billaba. So it makes a bloody mess as to what canon is. And actually, there was a weird controversy that happened back a couple weeks ago now in regards to our Rancor, because there was the question whether it was meant to be a retcon and a redo for our Rancor that we have from Return of the Jedi, even though they're not the same, and actually even new canon identifies it as a different Rancor. But it seems like it's gotten, well, at least unmessed up for the moment, so there's nothing saying that that was meant to be a retcon anymore. Yeah, it's a weird mess, though. Let's see. Matthew Cordona, you've got a theory that the sisters can be working for Fennec. Interesting. I don't get the feel for that. I could see it. I like going more the direction of Saw Gerrera. That's really the direction I like going with them. But heck, who the heck knows? We're playing a few mysteries there, and we're intentionally doing it, trying to get us some reasons to go theorize what's going on there about them and Fennec Shannon, who she might be working with. And yeah, we're definitely tossing a few things in, and I doubt it'll be the end of tossing open some questions for us to ponder. A whisper. I wish I had the answer to that question. Regardless of how one, I'll read it here. Regardless of how one feels about the sequels, how come Disney didn't have a 3-film arc ready like Lucas did for both of his trilogies? Well, wouldn't we all like to know? Because they don't know how to make a good trilogy? And they figure just make it up as you go along, it works. I don't know. It's Star Wars. Hey, whatever we put out, people are going to go ahead and love, even if we don't have a plan for how it's all going to fit together. I don't know. Heck, I've commented before. If there's one single biggest problem with the sequel trilogy that is most to blame. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's plenty of the blame to go around for things, but It's exactly that. It's that there wasn't any overarching plan. And then, because of that, we then get directors that are just fighting with each other and retconning each other's stuff back and forth, and it's a bloody mess. So, regardless of everything else, certainly it would have been a far better trilogy if there had actually been someone running the trilogy as a whole with a plan for where it was going. If you had if you had, for instance, like a Kevin Feige running how the heck the whole trilogy is going to work, rather than just hoping it all comes together, which is a mess. And was a mess. So, yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Dram, you realized a couple days ago that you missed the last Rebel stream. When's the next one? The next one is a week from Sunday, so not in just a couple days here, but it'll be Sunday the 20th. So that will be the next Rebels live stream. That's going to be the finale, and heck, it's going to be 4 episodes, with the last one being a double long, so it's going to be a big old live stream right there. So definitely a big, big one. And we are definitely at midnight, so let's get ready for Bad Batch right here. Episode 7. Hey, we're back up a little in the length on this one here. That's nice. We've been down a little shorter. Nothing bad about that as long as the episodes are good. But this is actually going to be either the 3rd or 4th longest. So we're back up to a similar time. Okay, looks like it's 4th longest at 27 minutes and 11 seconds. Okay, let me give the quick spiel to everyone in case you are new. Oh, and hey, while I'm at it, hello there to Gyroscope and hello there to Pheromond. I think you're the only 2 that just popped in. Yep, okay. So let me give the quick spiel. So go ahead and pull up your copy of Bad Batch up over on Disney Plus. If you've got it some other way, that's fine too. It doesn't matter to me. So just pull it on up, and then I'll count you in. I'll give you a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll both all start it up. Also, I will have a timer up above my head, so that way if things get missynced for you, you can go ahead and catch it back up. Okay. With that said, let me know if you're having any problems pulling up the new episode of Bad Batch. Toss it over in the chat right there. Otherwise, we will get started up here in a moment. I'll take a quick look over at your chat while I'm giving you a chance to put something in there in case there is any problem. Let's see, what else do we got? The episodes before the finale of Rebels are good. Good. Looking forward to it. Let's see. More trilogy talk. Okay, so not seeing any comments there, so I'm assuming everybody has it up and ready. So with that said, everybody, I'm going to go count you in, and we'll start up our Bad Batches. So on count of 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, episode 7. We don't have a title to it yet, as is usually the case, but sometimes they'll put up the title ahead. I don't know if it's an accident when they do or not. But it comes right here early on anyway, so we'll see the title in a moment. Not a bad standard, just to make sure you don't accidentally put titles in there for the shows that do care to hide them. This title sequence still amuses me. I wonder if it'll change in season 2. Ah, there we go. Battle Scars. I like it as a title. So this is... The title insinuates things that I'm hoping to see in here. Oh, jeez. Oh. The Rokai. Oh god, don't bang your head again there, Wrecker. Yeah, there we go. He banged his head again. It wasn't a big bang, though. Hmm. Part of the mess right there when you've been so much honor, duty, etc., to now be in such a morally gray area, shall we say. Uh, the big one there, right? Back to the connection between the two of them and how much it's being built. I love it, but I also know how much that's going to hurt in a bit. So who the heck is that? Uh, Mantel mix. Oh. Ha ha ha. Looks like some kind of colorful popcorn, almost dried raspberry popcorn or something. Nicely done. Does feel a little like Rex. I just didn't catch a good enough view of that face. One of the lights, too. Makes the super dark pieces trickier. Ooh. We're having fun with the humor today. Does Echo look a bit skinnier? I don't know. It's hard to tell in all that armor, to be honest. So you only get the face to look at it. Yes, indeed. It's Mr. X. Nice. Nice. A long story we'd like to hear. As we start to get some of those connections, by the way. That one's okay. The rest, yeah. See the scar right up there. Rex should catch that quick. Mm-hmm. The pain of this is it's getting worse for Wrecker, and we don't have the solution yet. You know it's got to go bad before we get the chance to take it out, though. Right? Back to how different of a clone she is, right? By the way, jumping back a little, you think it was really just the lines on Rex's face as far as Omega catching that? It's like, yeah, it makes him seem older, but felt like it was more than that. Oh, this is cool. I mean, it was cool in the trailer, too, to see some of this, but back to expanding the lore. Always love it, seeing new locations. Wow, we made it here okay so far. That's just kind of waiting for it to happen right now. Yeah, exactly, Giraffe. You think she felt it, too. Really looking forward to the reveal of her answers. Yes, me too. 100% me too. So what we need is an excuse to have Wrecker hit his head one more time, huh? Although Tex claimed to have known a little about it or something. Not the chips exactly, but yeah. I think it was more that Tech was claiming that he guessed as much. Yes, a Venator medbay indeed. Oh. Oh, Wrecker with his heights, crossing this, stay above the waterline. We're pushing as we get closer here, huh? Yeah, maybe after your chips are out, maybe I'll hint at it more. But that's a secret to keep right there. Anyone else have trepidation on record crossing this year? It's like, man, if we're not pushing it. Oh, here come the head hits. And into the water. Or, well, almost into the water. Gonna have to fight Wrecker here. Yeah, you're right, Dram. Almost every single shot from the trailers. It's a little rat equivalents. That's surgery, so no doubt. They still got racks. It's a nice moment. Done a really good job of building these relationships here. Yeah, here we go indeed, Trim. And you're saying that all out loud for him to hear. Not that he wouldn't know it anyway, but... As we knew was coming. You ain't kidding. Wrecker is terrifying. Nice. Of the relationships I love in this show so far. Yeah. Was he talking to Ahsoka there? That was nice seeing Rex again. Won't be the last time we see Rex. Fennec? Or just the scavengers there? Yeah, just them. I think I would have preferred just to end on the note before, to be honest. I know it's the ever popular, give us a cliffhanger to pull us into the next. But the dramatic note, the feeling would have ended better without doing that to it. Ah, well. Good episode, though. Good episode. Whew. Isaac, you said you watched it, the 7th one. Yep. Indeed, the 7th one is done in the can. Good episode. Yeah, it was good. Those emotional moments were nicely done in there. At one point, I had wondered if the whole record theme might actually last more than an episode. As it was just a short portion here, and it worked well. So I've got no complaints here, that's for sure. I mean, this is definitely easily one of my favorites of the entire season here. Easily is. So, I mean, I would be debating that right up there for my favorite. Put it that way. And certainly it was nice having Rex in here, don't get me wrong. I mean, loved having Rex. But that's not actually what really puts it up to that spot. It's really those character relationships and the emotional beats of this episode right here. That's what really did it. And all the Rex stuff was icing on the cake right there. Ah, well, hello there to Fabian. Next week will be the halfway point. Yes, already. Wow. Won't that be, I mean, wild to think of the fact that it's already going to be halfway through the season. And hey, now that they've taken those chips out, we've got to have a plan for saving Crosshair pop up at some point in here. Just a hard thing to do. Let's see. Yeah, we've got the the shots of the ATTEs on that one planet, and that big overview of the crowd that was down there. That one's still left. So that one will be interesting when we pop up. If I had to make a guess, next episode. Because that way we take out everything from the trailer by the halfway point. That would be my bet anyway. So, making a guess, we're headed there next time. Okay, so we've met Rex. Rex being connected and having connected up with the Martez sisters makes me guess more that they might have been reporting to Ahsoka instead as Fulcrum. That one would definitely fit as well. Although Ahsoka could have also connected into Saw Gerrera, so who knows? All kinds of different possibilities in there. I love how Disney Plus handles the trailers. Yeah, it's nice to have these little tiny pieces without giving things away. As I said, definitely nice. I hate too much in spoilers. There are bad trailers that exist out there too. Oof, dang. And I don't usually look for any of the teases they put out once the show started. I'll watch the trailers ahead of the show, but after that, I'm done with watching those. Now, let me shift this over here. I can see it a little better while. Oh, hey, and also kill that timer right there so it doesn't keep counting. No need to keep seeing that thing count when we're done with the episode. Hey, I've sometimes let those run way longer. Just if I'm not thinking about it, I don't click it, and then off it keeps going. No, I don't have one of those nice little stream decks. Maybe I could have a stream deck that would just press a button and it'd be like, oh, the timer's done. I don't have anything like that. It'd be nice, though. Speaking of nice things that you have. Someday. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Oh, that was good. That was really dang good. Again, might be my favorite. Do I think Omega will have her own armor by the end of the show? That's an interesting question right there. It's an interesting question where she'd get it, too. Because the armor for Omega would be different than the armor we tend to have for a lot of the rest, because I think we'd go for something that would really promote her agility more. Interesting. No, I think it would be cool to get Omega some armor, but I don't know. I wouldn't put my bets on it, though. I think that's where I feel. I wouldn't put my bets on her getting armor by the end, but it also would make some sense if she did. Interesting question. Be cool to see. Hello there to Anthony Ramos. I don't think I said hello there to you yet, so hello there you too. Oh, you were saying you wonder why Rex didn't bring up Ahsoka helping him get the chip out? Oh, heck no, that is top secret. I wouldn't mention that to pretty much anyone right there, that you got Ahsoka out. It's like, the last thing you want is that getting out. And the more people you tell it to, the more chance. It's not that he doesn't trust the Bad Batch. Just, well, once they have the chips out of their heads anyway. It's not that he doesn't trust them, but again, you tell it to that many more people, somebody says something in the wrong spot, or hints towards something, or gets captured and potentially interrogated. Again, no, you keep that one completely sealed right there. Unless there's a reason they need to know that Ahsoka's alive. So, otherwise, no. Now, if they were to actually join the fledgling bare origins of the rebellion, then maybe they'd run into Ahsoka at that point, but not before. Because they don't need to run into her. Pheromone and Dram there. I think Dram's got your answer definitely off the bat. That would be one thing. The Empire wouldn't be sneaking around if they were over there. So that clearly tells you, yeah, no, they're not Imperial. Also, you go ahead and check into them and be like, they match this wanted poster over here. So, yeah. I would imagine they do. And they didn't see Rex necessarily. They only saw hunters standing up there on the outside. So keeping Rex's secret still. I think that was an important point, that we didn't see them actually see Rex, but only Hunter. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see, as I said, I'm sure we'll go ahead and see Rex again. I don't know how much later. It might be finale type time for the time we'll actually see Rex. We kind of hinted toward it too, the whole, hey, if you need us, you know where to find us. My guess is something along those lines will be the way Rex pops back in. But it'll be interesting to see what way our crew ends up going as far as mercenary sides and doing stuff with Sid versus potentially heading this way over with Rex and potentially Ahsoka and Saw Gerrera and the Martez sisters, etc. What are my predictions on Crosshair, maybe in the upcoming episodes? What is the mid-season point? Also, it's been a while since we've seen Crosshair, and I think we'll bring him back in to keep him alive, essentially. Just to keep him in everyone's minds that we're still heading there. So I do think he'll probably pop back in the near-term future. Maybe it's possible not the next episode, but probably in the next 1 to 3 episodes, somewhere right in there, he'll pop in. I still think it's more a finale issue for going ahead and saving Crosshair and getting the chip out of his head. But I think we've got to bring him back in probably, at least once here in the next few, and then probably at least one more time before the finale after that. Also, I wonder how long it'll be till we see Fennec Shand again. We're certainly going to see her again. And we had the Empire contacted on them, and we didn't have them leave yet, so will that get Fennec Shand popping up? Or is that going to bring Crosshair in directly in the next episode, leading to our mid-season finale? Assuming we have some kind of two-parter. Because it certainly would seem to fit for Crosshair to pop up, and a good excuse for it since we had them contact the Empire. Dram says $10 at Crosshair's back next week. Speaking of. Yep. It could give us a good mid-season cliffhanger. And again, it brings him back in. They won't save him here. I would be really surprised to save Crosshair at the mid-season. I mean, it's possible. Who knows? He could be saved by the mid-season. But I wouldn't expect it. Let's see, in the movies we had at least Oddball and Cody. Indeed. Some interesting questions on the other clones in there to potentially see. Oh, I see. It's in response to Whisper up there. Did the clones in the movies have different names like in the Bad Batch? So there are a number of them. Certainly if we're talking Clone Wars, the TV show, we have a lot more named clones. We just don't have time in the movies to really get into names of different clones, though. So there aren't that many. We name Commander Wolf in the movies, I think. I think we do. Oof. Now I'll have to question him. But I think we name him, right? Question mark. No, it's all kind of a jumbled thing as to where they've been named and where they haven't. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest problem is we're not focused on them. We're focused on the even bigger picture for all the Jedi are main characters, and so yeah. Nah, you're right. Wolf wasn't in that. What? Maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, no, if we jump into Clone Wars, we'll get a lot more named, though. A lot more in there. A lot of dead clones now, too. Okay, so looking forward to a big mid-season finale, maybe a two-parter coming up. Maybe we'll do our first two-parter. I mean, yes, I grant the first episode is kind of a multi-parter, but not really. So, yeah, I'm hoping for a big mid-season thing. We go ahead and drop it off with a finale, mid-finale cliffhanger, and then two-parted onto the week after that, and hey, we bring Crosshair in. It seems to fit. And it would be a fun way to go into it. Whisper, if one has not seen any content outside of the trilogies, what are your thoughts then on the introduction of Grievous in episode 3? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to get at there. I mean, that was my introduction to Grievous, was episode 3. So, I mean, that was certainly my introduction. And I thought Grievous was cool, just in 3 and well used. And, yeah. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to get at there. Do you mean that do I like the introduction of Grievous just in episode 3 better, or Clone Wars beforehand going into it, or comics, or books, or anything? Is that what you're getting at? I had some problems. So, as far as Clone Wars, which I only first watched last year, actually, as big a Star Wars as a fan as I was. But yeah, I only watched Clone Wars first last year. And Grievous is often not super well used within the series, to the point that he's not as menacing and not as threatening as he could be. But then there are times, and some of that was early Clone Wars problems, whereas later Clone Wars would tend to do a better job with him. So, yeah. Tricky. Did I think his appearance was out of the blue when it popped up? Not really. I mean, put it this way. I mean, there's been a whole war going on already anyway. You pop in new people that we haven't seen, or enemies that are, so I wouldn't say any more out of the blue than anyone else that just pops up in one episode, one movie versus another. Yeah. Yeah, so no, I don't think I would. No more than I'd say, well, I mean, in Jango Fett's not as fair to talk about episode 2 for popping people in. How about no more out of the blue than Lando Calrissian was in episode 5? I mean, I can make that comment, same idea. I thought it was worked in well. Again, it's part of having a larger galaxy. There's a lot more going on than just these moments we see. So as long as you do it right, and that's what it feels like, is that it's a larger galaxy, rather than just, hey, look, we just popped this person out of thin air, then I think it works fine. And I think episode 3 hit that right for me, that it felt like Grievous certainly was somebody that had been around and been an adversary during the Clone Wars for them. So yeah, I think that's my answer. And hello there to Jesse Begonu. You just finished the episode. And did I like the return of Rex? Oh, certainly. Certainly. As I said, I love Rex most. And yeah, no, I think he was well used here. And they didn't overuse him because he's off. But we'll see him again, I'm sure. And you believe they're going to go find Gregor next episode? I don't feel that. I'm expecting to see Gregor and Wolf eventually, but I don't see either of them popping up next episode. I could be wrong. Who knows? But yeah, it's my thought there. Glorious Days of the Republic. Indeed. Yeah, exactly, Whisper. No, it felt as if we missed a big part of what happened between 2 and 3, which was, I mean, again, that's part of the whole beauty of Star Wars. As a general note, let's put it that way. Is that usually it feels like there's a far larger galaxy with all kinds of other things that have been happening. And certainly between 2 and 3, there's a whole war we've been missing out on. And episode 1 and 2 has all this time in between it. 4, 5, and 6, there's not as much time in between. I mean, there's a little bit of time in between 4 and 5 and 5 and 6, but not as much as the kind of time frames we're talking about generally over the prequels, let alone between 3 and 4, which has all kinds of time. And yeah, that's part of the whole magic of it, is that it does feel like a far larger galaxy. And then when you toss in all the books and the comics and everything else, it is a far larger galaxy, let alone the reference books and everything else too, the atlases and the encyclopedias and everything that will give us little bits and details more too. Dram, said you don't think they'll come to Wolf and Gregor before they get Crosshair. I think I would agree with you, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, it's not like it would become a mission, but that could be a reason to bring Rex back in. Maybe Rex has a mission to go save Commander Wolf. I don't know. That could be a reason. I could see something like that. Oh, good. You're giving me the pronunciation of your last name there. Oh, I'm sorry. I definitely screwed it up then, I'm sure. So, Bujesnu? Yes? Is that the way we're going to pronounce it? Bujesnu? Okay, so I think I got it there. So, Jesse Bujesnu. Yes, always feel free to, by the way, for anyone, always feel free to correct me on a mispronunciation of anything. It's not a problem at all. Please do. I said, I'd like to pronounce it right. I said, do my best otherwise. Oh, good. Oh, good, I got it. Let's see. What else do we got here? Did I think the Skywalker saga should have ended with Jedi and Lucas have the rights and made a story about... There's a lot of parts to that. I mean, the Skywalker saga... Anakin's story ended at Return of the Jedi. Now, you say Lucas kept the rights, made a story about Palpatine and Plagueis. Well, that doesn't seem like the story he was going to make, actually. So that's its own little trick. It seems from what we know, it was actually going to have Maul pop back in. We're going to have much more gray area. Again, something that would have felt far different than either of the other two trilogies we had already. I'm not sure exactly how that would have continued the Skywalker saga and where he would have gone exactly with it, which would have been intriguing. I'd love to go ahead and see. I'd love to see his treatment sometime. I don't think we'll ever see it, but I would love to see what he was thinking and where he was going. Bearing in mind that, of course, if he'd actually made the trilogy, things would have changed even for him as he was going. It's just a process. So it would have been his rough idea, but it would have been interesting to see what his plan was. Let's put it that way. Of course, even then, let me tell you that because I know the old expanded universe as well as I do, and I have read as much of it as I did, that even then I would still look at even George Lucas having done this sequel trilogy. I'd still look at it as, hey, look, here's alternate realities as to what just happened. Here's George Lucas's alternate reality, and here's the alternate reality of the expanded universe, and etc. I'd still do that, just because I know it so well. And I'm not saying that it wouldn't be great. I mean, Lucas's could be great, but I'd still have that part of my mind that would do both of that in my own headcanon. So should Lucas have kept the rights? And I mean, I can't tell you what George Lucas himself should have done. I mean, he certainly had his reasons. Heck, I mean, he's talked about how tiring making the prequels was, and all the feedback, shall we say, that he got over it. And then also with his age and everything else he was trying to do in his life, and going into the sequel trilogy, and why he didn't do it. So I fully understand it. Do I think it would have worked far better if he had? Yeah, I do. But yeah, anyway. And I don't think the story would have ever been Palpatine Plagueis, though. That I do not think the story would have been. Alright, let's see. Crosshair will have to be forced to... Yeah. Exactly. They'll definitely have to ambush Crosshair, no doubt. Might even be setting up an ambush for him as he's after them, which would probably be what's going to pop up there. So, agreed. What if Solo did the movie ruin the mystery and ambiguity of the character which Ford portrayed so well in the originals? No, I don't think so. I enjoyed Solo. Wasn't anything I call great, but I enjoyed it, so certainly I don't think it ruined the mystery or ambiguity of the character or anything like that. Yeah. Let's see. Do I think they'll do multiple seasons of Bad Batch? I think they'll do multiple. I mean, that's always been my thought. And yes, it's running fast, but I mean, I hope they'll do multiple. At the very least, let me say that. I hope they're doing multiple seasons. I think we'll get a much better idea in another few episodes. Once we start into the back half of the episodes for the season, it'll become more clear whether it feels like it's leaving more threads open to explore in a season 2 and a potential season 3 and whatnot. But right now, there are a number of other threads that they can go on, and I don't feel like they're coming to an end just at the end of season 1. And I hope not. Maybe I'm just being colored by my own hopes on that. That's entirely possible right there. So I hope not, and I don't think so. Jerem, you say you're fine with the butchered sequel trilogy as long as you get a Rogue One, a Mando, a Bad Batch, an Ahsoka show, an Obi-Wan show, a Boba show, and so much more. Haha, hear, hear. Hear, hear. I still want my Solo sequel, by the way. Side note. Maybe the Lando series will do some of that. I don't know, but still think getting into some of that other stuff would have been interesting, but that's fine. But no, Rogue One, definitely enjoyed. Mandalorian, I've definitely enjoyed. I said Bad Batch, definitely. And looking heavily forward to Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. And heck, Book of Boba coming up soon. Oh, yeah. And heck, we finally got to see Katie Sackhoff actually live action playing Bo-Katan. I mean, that's cool. Amongst other people who brought the characters, but considering she was the voice of Bo-Katan too, oh, very nice. Let's see. Gonna get into lightsaber colors. That's a whole interesting mess because new canon talks differently about lightsaber colors than the old EU did too. So I don't know. It's a whole weird mess, right? But also, if you say Lucas said they don't exist, I mean, that's not technically canon right there, so they can get away with that. That's not something that's inherently a problem, I don't think. There are plenty of things that are inherently contradictions, but that one isn't in and of itself a contradiction, let's put it that way. We're going back on the sequel trilogy and being canon, huh? Because you say Disney has as well contradicted Lucas's movies in a number of ways. How can Disney be canon then? Again, regardless, I don't choose what official canon is. Officially, it is canon. So, the movies are canon. Regardless. Doesn't mean I have to like it necessarily, and that my EU isn't even considered an alternate universe. But it's not the world I live in. So, regardless. And again, it's not like there weren't good things about the sequel trilogy too. There were good things in there. So don't take any of that as a comment saying there's nothing good in there. Even if I think there were definitely problems. Because there certainly were those too. But again, if you're going to say contradictions with the movies, oh man. Heck, even Lucas's movies have contradictions to Lucas's movies. It's a Star Wars tradition for you. That's some fun stuff when you think about it. No, canon's always been a mess. Even back from George Lucas doing it, canon was always a mess because George Lucas would always want to change stuff and retcon things later because he'd have better ideas and be like, hey, I want to change this just a little this way. And oh, hey, it's better if I do this way now. And oh, hey, what if Luke and Leia are actually brother and sister? Yeah, let's do that. Oh, and you know what? Actually, I think the mother dies in childbirth. So yeah, no, they probably wouldn't have known them in person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So contradictions in and of themselves certainly don't go ahead and make something canon or not. I should make a video on that sometime. I've been thinking about it, talking about canon as a whole. What a mess. Let's see. Jeram talking about yellow is, by the way, a Lucas color used in Clone Wars. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Jeram says what Lucas said isn't canon. Yep, correct indeed. What Lucas said is not canon. I don't think even Lucas would want what he says to be canon. That's just my guess. Lucas, with wanting to be able to change things and whatnot too, I don't think he'd want his opinion as of one year to be the canon versus another. That's a guess, but who knows? Let's see. Something about canceling Clone Wars, bringing it back. Not sure. I'm missing what the reference was to in that. But certainly, Clone Wars did a beautiful finish to the show there. Oh, talking about, he said something about there was only blue, green, red. Well, obviously, Lucas himself expanded that well once we jumped into the prequels right there. And the expanded universe had already well expanded the lightsaber colors before the prequels ever came out. Yep, used right the synthetic crystals till the Jedi saw it as being part of the Sith color. Yes, I think you're right on that to some degree. I think there's even more nuance to all of it, but yes. Yes, I think they did. There's been... New canon has a whole different explanation for red crystals than what the old expanded universe was. But yeah, that's a whole mother mess right there. One last question from Whisper. Let's see. If I think the sequels are bad, would I consider JJ's reaction to The Last Jedi worse than The Last Jedi? It's... I usually try not to dig too much into the sequels, but certainly we've been talking a little about the sequels today. But would I consider JJ's reaction to Last Jedi? In other words, when you say JJ's reaction, I assume you mean Rise of... our final one. Brain went for a second. But yeah, Rise of Skywalker. But would I consider that worst? Yeah. I mean, it was a complete mess. Well, not complete. There were some, there were good spots in there, but it was such a bloody mess. Yeah, I'm not going to jump too much into it now. Someday I'll talk more about the sequels, but let's put it this way. Generally, I've seen most Star Wars movies multiple times. I'm still yet to see it a second time. I saw Rise of Skywalker in the theaters, and I haven't seen it since. And it's been a year and a half. Over a year and a half now, right? Almost? No, almost a year and a half. So, I will sometime. But the fact that it's been a year and a half and I haven't watched it a second time should tell you something. Anyway. Hate to do talking season 5 Clone Wars. Looks like on the Jedi Temple Guards using yellow blades. Yep. And that was why Lucas was there. Yes, indeed. Yeah, but a nice purple one for Samuel L. Jackson. Yep. But no, and even then the movies never said, hey, these are the only colors. So canon doesn't make a comment on that as far as that portion of canon anyway. Yes, indeed. Exactly, Jesse. Commenting on Mara Jade using purple. Yes, indeed. Speaking of people who are not canon, sadly. Jerem commenting on 9 and 8. Yeah. Whisper still has more questions after all. You said you were done, but you have more. Why did they derail in Last Jedi from what was set up? Again, primary reason number one is nobody was overseeing the trilogy as a whole. No one had a guiding view and said, here's how I want the whole trilogy to go. It just wasn't there in Lucasfilm. I don't know why they thought that would work. I don't know why they thought that was the best strategy, was to have no overall plan. But they did. Or didn't, as the case is. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. We can talk about the positives and negatives of every one of those three, including the first. I mean, we can talk about the problems of the first one and J.J. Abrams' mystery boxes for everything. That he had no bloody idea where he was going, because it's J.J. Abrams. And he doesn't have an idea where the hell he's going with those things. I mean, there are people who are good at plotting things out toward an end and people who aren't. And it's no bad thing per se not to have that knowledge of where you're going, as long as you're working with someone else who does. My best example for that, if I had to make one, would be to talk about Ronald D. Moore, who is insanely good with characters. I mean, the new Battlestar Galactica series, for instance, also worked on some of the Star Treks like DS9 at the end of Next Gen, cut out of Voyager with some of the problems that were going on in Star Trek at the time. But he's insanely good with characters. You can especially see it in Battlestar and his influence on DS9. He does not know where he was going and how to tie everything up at the end. So he really needs somebody else who had a bit of that piece in them and was good at tying things up. And I think when it comes to J.J. Abrams, I think that's a big thing he needs too. He's good at a lot of things. There are things he's really good at. Having a plan as to where things are going to go and how everything will tie up in the end, not something he's good at. So he was never the person who would have been put over top of it. But again, could he have been a fine director of the first movie? Sure, he could be fine. As long as you had somebody over top of the whole thing. Although, who knows if you'd be okay with that? That's a completely different question. So, no. And then we had essentially people fighting for their own visions throughout the sequel trilogy, rather than a cohesive plan as to where the hell it was going. What can you do? And that's what it is. So, bloody mess. Hello there to Sailor X. Hope an elderly member of the Bad Batch shows up in The Mandalorian. That would be cool. I wonder who would bring in. If we're going to bring an elderly member of the Bad Batch, I just don't know that they're going to survive, frankly. I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the Bad Batch as a whole has none of them alive anymore. I still like my idea for ending it, which would be a little more Operation Valkyrie or one of those different pieces, or Black Orchestra, World War II kind of things where they were trying to assassinate Hitler. I'd still think it would be a cool idea if that's actually the end of Bad Batch, is a big assassination plot on Palpatine, and they go in for that, and, well, it obviously doesn't work. But I think that would be a way to go out guns blazing. And fully answer why the heck we don't see them anymore after that. I mean, they're powerful enough that they could cause some real trouble otherwise. Let's see. Whisper says, it's as if Lucas had one constant in the prequels, Anakin. Everything else was unplanned. JJ had everything unplanned and no constant. Would I agree? No, I would not. Lucas didn't have only one thing planned in there. He had outlines. He certainly did have those. Now, do things change as you go from outline to a script? and from a script to the next version of it and the next version of the script. And as you're then doing production, does that then change what you do the next one? Yes. But to say that he only had one constant in there, I think would be inaccurate by a decent bit. So I think he definitely had more idea to it than that. Did JJ have everything unplanned? Well, I think that's probably being too ungenerous to JJ right there. And again, bear in mind, the way it was JJ would have looked at it is maybe he had some ideas for where certain things might go in another movie or two. But he wasn't having to think about it. He didn't script either of the movies after that. He wasn't going to be making either of them, because that was the way the sequel trilogy was set up. So he didn't have to plan where things were going. So, yeah. Maybe that answers my thoughts on that, but again, I'm just trying to make my comments on what other people are thinking, which is a little tricky. They should have George R. R. Martin write a new trilogy. That man has a plan. Well, he does have a plan. The only problem with George R. R. Martin writing the new trilogy is we probably wouldn't get it until 2050. Dang. If we ever get those last two books from George R. R. Martin, or by the time he writes them 3 or 4 books, who knows? He does have a plan, though. That's for sure. And man, does he... he's got himself so busy with shows and this, that, and the other that those books are taking so much longer to come out. But yeah, no, there are definitely people who are good at that kind of work. And people aren't. Fairmont always pictured an elderly hunter. Yeah, that'd be fun with an elderly hunter. Omega's a mess, though. To have Omega survive too long would be really tricky because of the fact that Omega has those force abilities in there. So, I don't know. I'm curious what happens to Omega in the end, too. Hello there to Andrew Russell. What's up? Oh, we're just still talking Star Wars here. So, yeah. Watched the latest episode of Bad Batch. It was definitely one of, if not the best, of the show right there. Let's see. Still got some stuff going. Since Rex is undercover right now, I'd love for him to have an undercover name. Oh, that could be fun. I mean, at this point in time, we've got 2 Fulcrums. I assume Ahsoka's a Fulcrum by this point. I mean, she already used the term once at the end of Clone Wars anyway. And then Saw Gerrera is a Fulcrum. So, I assume they have 2 Fulcrums. I don't know. If Rex were in that far, would he go by a Fulcrum or not? We know by Rebels that he's out of it. So, it's an interesting question. Could just have them have the undercover name of Fulcrum, though. But Nick Sant? That's interesting. Did George know Anakin's origin back in 77, and why did he wait so long? Well, I mean, he had his ideas certainly about it even back then. I mean, he's talked about how some of the outlines and ideas he had way back. Why did he wait so long? He's talked about that. Certainly part of it is how much the original trilogy took out of him. It just did. It was taxing to go ahead and do the whole trilogy for him. And that was definitely a reason that it ended up taking him a while before he went on and did more. So, I think probably more than anything else, that was one of the big reasons. Technology was also something for him. That was an influence on him on waiting, is that he wanted the tech to be able to actually make true some of the things he envisioned. Bear in mind, George Lucas was always somebody who pushed the edges of tech to be able to see his vision. So, at least those 2 different things. And then, I'm sure, plenty of other pieces in terms of his actual real life and things that got in the way there, too. Yeah, I know I've seen more about it too. So probably sure you can pop some interviews with George Lucas up there, and I think that answers a bit of it too. You just realized Nick Sant is about a Rebels fan theory that's been half confirmed. I have not heard that one. As long as it doesn't spoil the last few episodes of Rebels, which I imagine it wouldn't at this point. I've tried to avoid anything that would actually pop in there, so considering I've only been watching Rebels recently, would not have run into it. Cool. Well, then maybe I'll look it up then sometime on the old Nick Sant thing there. Sounds interesting. Was it known back in '99 that Maul's master was in fact Sidious from the originals? Yeah, I said '99 sounds like Phantom Menace, so yes, I would say 100% yes, probably at that point. I mean, heck, he's even played by Ian McDiamond. Screw up his last name. Ian McDiamond. Diamond. Why am I screwing up his last name right now? Whoa. It's late, that's why. That's what my claim is. But yeah, 99 sounds like Phantom Menace. That is the right year for Phantom Menace, right? So when you say that, we're not saying ahead. Yeah, okay, it's 99. So yeah. 100%. Oh, okay. Oh, I think maybe I have heard something of that on the Nick Sant. Now that you give me the rest of the context, I have heard that. That rings a bell anyway. So, yeah, could be. Not that it would stop Filoni from doing it eventually if he wanted to, but yeah. Hey, I've made this comment before, but Filoni is Lucas's protege in I wouldn't just say in many ways, but he is. And Lucas certainly was willing to retcon things. Filoni very much got that from him. So retconning something out of the original trilogy, he might be a little more reticent to that, but he's willing to retcon a lot of other stuff. That's for sure. Same as what happened in the first episode of this show. To be sure. Halfway confirmed headcanon fan theory. Yeah. Oh, that's a good note to end on. Talking about Dave Filoni and retconning. Yup. Okay. It's been a good stream, everyone. Definitely enjoyed all of you here. And, oh, man, we had some good discussions here. So definitely had a lot of conversation afterwards, which was a ton of fun, by the way. So I will be back next week for the next Rebels episode. Hello. For the next Bad Batch episode. Rebels, I'll be back next week too, I suppose, or a week and a half from now. But for anybody watching that. So yeah. And in between, hey, if you're watching Loki or anything, feel free to join Natalia and I on that. We'll be back next week to do that. But hey, if you're Star Wars, catch you next week for another Bad Batch. And in the meantime, let me go ahead and say the usual to everybody here, which I usually close out all of my videos with. I think I might have cut it off a little early last week, but that was a technical snafu. So, to everyone, have a magical day, and may the Force be with you. Always.